Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. At the recent Risk Profit Conference at Kansas State University, we sat down with K-State Ag Economist Dan O'Brien to talk about the outlook for the grain markets. We're nearing full harvest mode and what opportunities and challenges are ahead for corn, soybeans, and wheat. We also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission, Kansas Department of Agriculture, and Kansas Grain Sorghum, along with a weekly update the Kansas Livestock Association, and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers, Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com. In agricultural news from agview.net, the Biden administration this week announced its plan to nominate Elaine Trevino, the president of the Almond Alliance of California and former deputy secretary for the California Department of Food and Agriculture, to be the next chief agricultural trade negotiator in the office of U.S. Trade Representative. Trevino will be filling a key role for the U.S. ag sector as the Biden administration wrestles with how it should deal with China and what the U.S. goals will be for potential free trade agreements with the UK, the European Union, and Kenya. Now, those are all holdovers from issues the Trump administration did not get complete, but the U.S. ag sector also is keen for the Biden administration to forge ahead with new free trade agreements in places like Southeast Asia, or perhaps even enter trade talks to rejoin the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The last U.S. chief ag negotiator was Greg Dowd, a native of Jewell County, Kansas. Well, USDA did release their latest crop production and world agriculture supply and demand estimate reports recently. USDA calling for higher corn and soybean production in the U.S. Corn production forecast at 15 billion bushels. That's up 246 million bushels from last month on increases in harvested area and yield, which is 176.3 bushels per acre. That's up 1.7 bushels. Harvested area, 85.1 million acres. That's up 600,000 acres. The U.S. corn outlook is for larger supplies, increased feed and residual use, greater exports, and higher ending stocks. Season average corn price dropped 30 cents to $5.45 a bushel. Now, soybean production predicted at 4.37 billion bushels. That's up 35 million on lower harvested area. That more than offset, though, by a higher yield forecast at 50.6 bushels per acre. The area harvested for soybeans predicted to be 86.4 million acres. Now, that's a little lower than the number last month, but 5% higher than last year. Soybean supply and use changes include higher beginning stocks, better production, exports, ending stock, and a lower soybean crush rate. The season average price down 80 cents to $12.90 a bushel for soybeans. Now, the U.S. wheat outlook is for reduced supplies, slightly higher domestic use, unchanged exports, and decreased ending stocks. The season average farm price dropped 10 cents to $6.60 a bushel for wheat. And finally, a bipartisan group of 4 senators have jointly announced the American Beef Labeling Act. Now, this legislation would mandate the reinstatement of beef and beef products into the existing mandatory country of origin labeling law, or MCOOL, allowing for a 12-month development and implementation for the grace period to get it rolling. This bill would require the Office of Trade Representative, in consultation with the Ag Secretary, to develop a World Trade Organization compliant means of reinstating MCOOL for beef within 1 year of reinstatement. Find more ag news at agview.net. Stay right here. K-State's Dan O'Brien in just a moment. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum. Growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net. Joining us now is Dr. Dan O'Brien, Ag Economist, Kansas State University. He spends a lot of his time in Colby at the Northwest area. Dan, we like to catch up with you at least once a year, if not more, just kind of get that take. And in fact, we're caught up with you here at the Risk Profit Conference. So you kind of gave the grain outlook, and I think I was in one of those presentations. You could have went for literally hours. There is so much information. Do we have some, I guess the first question is, what is driving these grains?
I think overall a general tightening of world stocks, and it's becoming apparent we need to look at the world numbers on a world minus China basis. When you see that and see how tight wheat is, I think we're at 21.5%, which would go back to 2007, 2008 as far as tightness. So you have that type of situation happening in the wheat market. Corn market, you're seeing world stocks, if anything, even minus China, even tighter than that. And you're going back there again at least 15, 20 years to find a similar situation. Soybeans also tight. Even in aggregate, you're seeing a ongoing growth in usage, matched by pretty much the same, but a little bit inconsistent growth in production that ends up and leaves us with, on all these commodities, sideways trends for ending stocks. And so when you have growing usage and sideways trends on stocks, you end up and tighten things up. And so that's where we're at.
How important is the international picture? There for a few years, we were so focused on that. It seems like over the last year or two, we have become so focused domestically.
Well, on corn, the growth in ethanol has leveled, and I think that's a policy choice. Again, they have gone beyond 15 billion gallons per year of production, so about 5 billion bushels. So that's a policy choice. So if we didn't have, and feed usage has been pretty good, had some health in the livestock industry. But so given level usage in those other industries, we'd be basically accumulating stocks in a lot worse situation than we're in the corn and feed grains. So that's an issue, of course, for grain sorghum in Kansas. We are highly dependent on exports to China, and we do great price-wise when we have that. When we don't, otherwise not. Soybeans. Really, it's a tale of which half of the year that we're talking about. We really saw great exports about the first half of this marketing year. Then when South American crops came available, we basically struggled and are now wondering about when we'll start seeing. Apparently, we have news coming into the market of purchases again showing that, the tide's now turning back to the U.S. Mm-hmm. So on the margin, we're dependent on exports. And when exports are hot, it's news in the market every day. Sure. And for those other numbers, we're waiting for a monthly report here or some other thing there. When the exports are moving, it's an ongoing urgency to bid the price up to the place where someone can get supplies. Dr. Dan O'Brien, Ag Economist, Kansas State University, is joining us. We're going to take a break. We're going to talk on the oilseed business and discuss more about this wheat, because before long we're going to be planting next year's crop. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the soybean checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. And our guest is Dr. Dan O'Brien, Kansas State University Ag Economist. Talks a lot about the grains, focuses on that. Okay, a couple things we want to talk about is we watch the soy oil market, this whole kind of vegetable oil, or those have brought a lot of volatility. It could be up a couple bucks, could be down $3. Tell us about that and how it drives the market.
Well, I think soybean production, they take them into crush plants, they produce meal, they produce oil. And soybean oil can go a number of different directions, but one aspect of the soybean oil use complex that's been growing over the last 3 years has been used as a green biofuel. And again, you look at the 2019-20 balance sheet of 8,658,000,000 pounds of soy oil used for that, jumped to 9.1 billion in the 2020-21 marketing year. It's almost done. Projected to be about 11.5 billion coming up, and we have reports of plants being built in parts of the Corn Belt, actually to the north of us, that soybean crush plants that are associated with facilities that will make this green biofuel, and some might call it the Californication of bioenergy policy. But when they set that standard out there in the West Coast, then it's taking some amount of U.S. soybean production to feed that. What I wonder about is the potential for just as has occurred in the corn, and I'm not complaining about it, where we've taken U.S. corn production and increasingly seen X amount of U.S. corn produced each year goes into that domestic processing, energy-related industry. As this continues to grow, it looks like we're heading towards that same type of thing, and it's not bad, but it does crowd out export potential. Okay, now let's talk, though, in our remaining time about wheat. We're now days away from getting those first seeds in the ground for next year.
we had a surprisingly good year pretty much in Kansas. Prices are up. The battle for acres, though, is going to begin. Will we see now an increase in wheat acres? Because with everything it still seems to be, the economics are saying corn and beans.
Well, the economics say corn and beans. A part of the economic picture also has to do with high input costs for especially corn. Mm-hmm. So that could be a factor as people look out to next year. We're going to have very likely a pretty strong crop insurance planning price, probably somewhere $6.50, $7. By the time we get to that, as we look out to next July 2022 average, and people could plant wheat into those acres if they have moisture. I think moisture is going to be a big key. If they think they can get something established, well, then they'll go forth and do that. I guess I've become an old curmudgeon. I don't necessarily trust, even though the U.S. Drought Monitor and soil moisture maps say we have tremendous moisture right now. There's no problems. Still, I see those numbers, those issues creeping in, and we do have an active La Nino weather pattern that's happening. If that occurs, then that would bring a dry August to October for us.
We see those drought monitors every Thursday, and you and I, we're in the western part of the state. We see it every day with our eyes and see what happens. So,
right.
So before I let you go, then, where are you at looking at the outlook for commodities? Are you a little bullish? Are you a little neutral, or what?
Oh, the trends are towards tighter stocks, and that's really the question would be how long it sustains. When you look at past years, in tight times like this, in the marketing year we're in, we tighten up ending stocks, which means we tighten up beginning stocks, which raises the ante for getting a good crop the next year. And so when you come out of like 2012-13 into 13-14, we sustained all the highs in 12-13 through most of 13-14 until we got out to the end of the summer. And then we planted a lot of acres, good crop is coming on, and beyond our belief, what was really high $5-6 price for corn, etc., dropped like a rock. Right. So I think it comes down to human psychology in the market. If there's urgency, as long as the urgency to buy and the fear of not getting supplies is there, we'll hold up prices. We get that next crop coming, then the psychology of the whole thing will probably we're at risk to going down sharply lower in the fall of 2022, I think.
All right. Dr. Dan O'Brien, his Ag Economist, Kansas State University, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more in a moment.
Where is soybean research headed in future years? That question brought to life the inaugural Soybean Research Forum and Think Tank in August. The event in Indianapolis was a gathering of over 100 individuals comprising agricultural researchers, farmers, industry leaders, and state soybean staff from 18 states. 11 representatives from Kansas attended, including 3 farmers, 4 researchers, 3 staff, and 1 person from industry. Kansas also played a key role in orchestrating the event. The agenda dedicated time to discussions on production research topics such as soybean cropping systems, genetics and biotechnology, sustainability topics such as soil health and fertility research, water quality, and carbon sequestration, plus new uses and market opportunities. Representatives from Aimpoint Research, an agricultural marketing research firm based in Ohio, delivered a keynote on the future state of soy. Many other speakers and industry experts led presentations and discussions during the event as well. Commissioner Ron Oldie described the meeting as extremely valuable, noting that the future of research is optimistic and collaboration will be critical to achieve industry goals. For more about soybean research happening in Kansas, check out kansassoybeans.org/research.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the soybean checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
September is Food Safety Education Month, and food safety for all Kansans is part of the mission for the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Often people are surprised that food safety and restaurant inspections fall under the Department of Ag, but we know that food and agriculture are closely tied together, and we work to ensure a safe food supply throughout the entire food supply chain, from the fields to your plates. Our food safety and lodging program works with food wholesalers, food manufacturers, grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, food trucks, and other food operations across the state, so they all understand and follow the Kansas Food Code and other statutes that serve to keep consumers safe from foodborne illness. Preparing and selling high-quality, safe food begins with well-trained and knowledgeable food service workers, so we provide educational materials in a variety of ways. Our Food Protection Task Force shares food safety information regularly with food establishments. We have created a number of fact sheet handouts for food service establishments to use for staff training and ongoing education, and we've translated these handouts so they're available in Spanish and Chinese in addition to English. Our food safety staff travels the state presenting Focus on Food Safety workshops, where they share key steps to preventing foodborne illness in Kansas. And this year, the food safety team has been hosting the Food Safety Webinar Series, a free monthly half-hour webinar about various food safety topics. September 27th is the webinar on grocery store food safety, and past topics have ranged from food safety for food trucks to dealing with pests to a close look on cooling and reheating foods. Registration and links to the previously recorded webinars are all at agriculture.ks.gov/FPTF. During Food Safety Education Month, we thank our Kansas food establishments for keeping us safe and healthy.
Meeting at American Ag Credit in Great Bend on Wednesday, September 28, 2021, the Kansas Grain Sorghum Commission approved a new budget for fiscal year 2022 in the amount of $1,010,589. Chairman Kevin Kniebel, a farmer of White City in Morris County, noted that this budget reflects not only the momentum of the crop, but also a continued focus on research results and making a difference for farmers. Increasingly, the Commission is driving results through research in the areas of genetic markers, practical applications, and market priorities. Also, the K-State Sorghum Breeding Program is delivering results through private companies and beyond. Barton County, which includes Great Bend, historically ranks in the top 10 sorghum-producing counties in Kansas. And if you've seen a lot of milo in your area, you're not alone. Earlier this month, the USDA released its September World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates report, which increased estimated planted grain sorghum acres to 7.3 million, up 12% from the August report and 24% over the previous year. Kansas, the largest grain sorghum producing state, planted 3.6 million acres with an increase of 20% over last year. And together with the Sorghum Checkoff, the Kansas Grain Sorghum Commission continues to work toward robust market opportunities for farmers at home and abroad, while directing farmers' investments and vision in sorghum improvement within our state. For Kansas Grain Sorghum, this is Adam York.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association spearheaded a letter to U.S. House Ways and Means and U.S. Senate Finance Committee leadership, urging them to consider the implications that changes to federal tax policy will have on family-owned agricultural businesses. Signed by nearly 330 national, regional, and state trade associations, including KLA, the letter sent a strong message to Capitol Hill that when drafting legislation to implement President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, it is critical the American Families Plan supports family farms and ranches. NCBA Senior Executive Director of Government Affairs Danielle Beck said Congress must consider the complex structure of family-owned agricultural businesses that serve as the backbone of rural economies and therefore understand how changes to long-standing provisions in the tax code could be detrimental to the financial viability of these businesses as they transfer to the next generation. With more than 370 million acres expected to change hands in the next 2 decades, Beck said this is not a partisan issue, but one that affects every single American. Some federal tax policy proposals have been accompanied by the promise of purported protections to family-owned businesses. However, those accommodations may not necessarily apply to the diverse complexity of ownership structures across agricultural entities. Therefore, the letter stressed the only way to ensure the future viability of family farms and ranches is to fully preserve critical provisions such as the stepped-up basis, like-kind exchanges, and the Section 199A small business deduction, and maintain the current estate tax code provisions.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Mitch Dewar here with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. Last Friday, September 10th, the USDA released their monthly WASDE report. The report was bearish, but corn and soybeans rejected the move lower and closed the day on a positive note. USDA increased the corn yield to 176.3, up from the August number of 174.6 bushels per acre, and the soybean yield up to 50.6 from 50 bushels per acre. Both of these numbers were a bigger increase than what the analysts were estimating. Harvest acres for corn came in at 85.185 million acres, which was up from the August estimate of 84.5. And the soybean harvest acres were down slightly to 86.437 million acres. These estimates brought an increase in both corn and soybean ending stock numbers, which would be taken as bearish to the market, but it appears that these extra bushels were already priced in the weeks before the report. The cattle market witnessed another black swan event as the JBS plant in Grand Island caught fire late Sunday. This wasn't our first fire the beef industry has experienced, and the future markets took a dive on the open Monday morning. As the day went on, the markets recovered some of their losses as the seriousness of the event started to surface. They did suspend operations, but with the fire contained to the rendering side of the plant, they resumed operations on the kill side later in the week. This sell-off was on top of a current sell-off happening in the markets from making new highs. We once again find ourselves among another harvest in very volatile markets. If you would like to talk about grain and livestock marketing, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Mitch Dewar with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us at kansasagreport.net or on our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.